Thank you so much for making the time to join the conversation, Kelly.
Of course, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
What's the weather like in Thailand right now?
It's the very end of monsoon season, so we get a lot of rain, and then we really appreciate the days of sunshine when they come in between. But it's transitioning now into a really beautiful time of year as the rain ends.
How long have you been there now?
I recently just got back about 2 months ago, so I was away for about a year and a half this last year. And I just recently got to where I called my second home, or a place that feels very much like home for me.
Um, well, I know that your inspiration for the bottle that I've got here. So if anyone who's watching can see, otherwise, obviously we'll put a link in the description for people to have a look at. Which one is it that you've got? I've got love. So which one is it that you had
Amazing. I
there?
have abundance. It's
Oh, I love
there.
that.
There we
Okay,
go.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, I know your inspiration for this project came about when you were in Thailand, right? With your sister. But before we get into that, it'd be great to just understand a bit about kind of where you grew up and who you are from that perspective and kind of what that upbringing was like.
Yeah, definitely. I'm originally from Colorado, and yeah, I just grew up fairly normal life, I would say. And I would say I got really interested in alternative healing modalities when I was a teenager. Actually, my sister, who is also my business partner and co-founder of the company with me, she was diagnosed with lupus, an autoimmune disease, when we were younger. She's 2 years older than me, and so during this phase, it was quite severe childhood case of lupus. Uh, my the Western medicine wasn't really working, um, and my family started to explore alternative ways to to look at what might be causing these symptoms. And so this really opened me up. And I was quite young at this phase, so I was just going with them and exploring all of these different things, which is this curiosity. And I realized, wow, there's so many options, there's so many possibilities. And yeah, it just kind of led me down an alternative path of just being really curious. What else is out there? And I started reading many books on it, and then kind of fell back into um, the 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 day-to-day life. I ended up going to business school, and and graduating, getting a job in consulting, and this uh, led me to work about 50, 60 hours a week, working quite strenuously over something I actually wasn't so passionate about. And it took me a number of years, and this just feeling of just very lack of fulfillment, and just like this longing for something more. It was like my heart was just like seeking for something. Um, and I would look in the office at when I'd be there at 7 p.m. at night at the partners in the firm for where I worked. They'd have like the pictures of their families on their desk, and they'd be working these long hours. And at one point, I just questioned, like, is this really what I want to be working for? Like, is this my kind of end goal? And it just got me questioning that. And it eventually, after doing this, I look back at this time in my life as really one of the greatest blessings of this intense burnout I experienced, where I really couldn't get out of bed. I was having quite severe, just almost to the state of depression, where I didn't see the point in it anymore. I knew something had to change. And so it kind of led me back to this passion that I spoke about earlier, that I'd almost forgotten I'd put on the shelf, because it wasn't like, didn't seem logical. It wasn't I was kind of the path that I had chosen to go down, but it kind of like resurfaced itself. And so at this moment, I just decided I just need some space. I just need to create some space within my life to explore again and reignite what I am passionate about, or at least rediscover that. And that's kind of what led me down this alternative path that I have been on the last 6 or 7 years, kind of living all around the world in many different places. But that's a bit about my journey of what kind of sparked that that need for discovery of something more, and really it led me on a journey to discover the deeper layers within myself, which is really what I was searching for the whole time. It led me around the world thinking it was an outer journey, thinking I needed to go explore all these places, but all the places that I went actually took me within myself. And it wasn't until there was this knowing and connecting back to myself, where then I began to kind of reignite this spark and this love and passion for life again. So that's a bit about it's hard to say. That's just a sliver of course of my journey, but that's kind of the one of the propelling uh, forces that kind of led me to where I am today. This kind of blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it's the journey itself of going around and following wherever the universe is taking you initially starts with needing to get to the destination, thinking that your answers are going to be there. And then you realize, and I was talking to a friend about this recently, you realize that you go full circle and you realize actually it was all about the journey. It wasn't just one place. It was about who I was becoming as a result of that. And then when you come back, just like the hero's journey you set out on answering the call to adventure, you follow kind of the map um, that you're being given, and then you end up coming back to yourself, realizing, oh, I'm actually a different person than when I started, and that was the point of it.
Yeah, the journey is the destination.
Did you grow up religious or spiritual? Like, I wonder if like your parents or the space in which you grew up influenced your inspiration to seek alternative solutions, not just to medicine, but like to ways of living.
Yeah, I grew up in my family is Catholic, and I went to Catholic high school, so was exposed to that at a young age, and uh, I would say that there's always been that curiosity for, I know there's something greater, like bigger, but and I felt this connection to it in different forms. And I always like wanted to explore what that is and how people experience it differently. And kind of even going back to my sister's story, I never really finished that, but she actually had a spontaneous healing experience at that young age. She had which sparked it even more. This, oh, wow, what else is possible? She had we did tried everything from 10-day water fasts to energy healings to just exploring everything. And it was she was sleeping one night and she had a dream where she kind of went up into this white light, and um, was asked if she wanted to return back, and if she did, the path um, would be hard, but she would be healed. And she almost had this choice in this moment, and as she did, she chose, and she fell back. She felt as though she fell back into her body in this dream, um, and woke up, and just with tears running down her face, ran up the stairs for the first time before she couldn't even make it up the stairs because her legs were so swollen from the medication, and woke up my parents saying, I'm healed, I'm healed. And they were like, are you okay? What's going on? Questioning her, but she had this assurance, this knowing that she was healed. And from that day, she started flushing her 60 pills down the toilet without telling anyone, because there was this knowing, this really strong belief because she had experienced, the experience was so strong. And she would say that she woke up in the mornings just wanting, you know, the need for stillness and just listening to the birds, just with this big smile on her face. And we'd never really been taught what meditation was or anything like that. But it's just like this sitting in the stillness. And as she spoke about this also just this sparked it, and I started to begin to read all of these different stories of other people that had similar experiences. And it's funny, when you begin to look for something, you begin to find it everywhere. When you start to look for it, you begin to see, oh wow, there are so many experiences like this that maybe I hadn't, I've never even heard of. So this sparked my curiosity as well, and like the power of our mind as well, and the power of what we believe to be true, even about our body, how we think about our body, and the words that we speak to ourselves, and how that can impact, not only our health, but, how we perceive ourselves in the world. So this also sparked my interest in kind of the power of the mind, and all of it. And so I just became very, very curious with it all, and just started reading. I wouldn't say it was, I started reading books from Buddhism, and trying Vipassana meditation, to a lot of books of, Wayne Dyer and Abraham Hicks, and just all of this different vastness, and just exploring it all. Um, just with curiosity. And then for me, there was just certain resonance with different things that would just continue to open new doors. And it's like this puzzle almost that begins to unlock for each of us. And maybe it comes in a book recommendation, or something that just sparks our interest. And I like to call them these little whispers in the wind. Like when we listen enough, there we begin to notice that this guidance is everywhere. Um, and these synchronicities sometimes of just what we're looking for right in the right moment. And that's kind of how I've felt, kind of led me to where to break free of this feeling of when I felt very trapped. Like I felt super trapped. I felt like I'd almost given my power away at this point, when I was in this job, and I just felt very stuck. And then I began to look, said, okay, I can ask, and I can look for what else is possible, what are alternative ways. And as I began to ask, I began to receive these different whispers, and trust that within myself.
What was one of the whispers that you received, that you remember receiving?
Hmm. Yeah, it was actually about this island. My mom recommended it because I would call my mom, and I would just be so upset sometimes after work. I just almost would be tearful because I just felt so disconnected from it. And I was like, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with me? And she was like, well, you should call. It was it's their really good family friends, some friends they went to high school with. Their daughter had lived on this island for 10 years. And she just said, you should give her a call. Just, send her a message, and just connect. I think she really likes it there. Just check it out. So I just sent her this message, throwing it out there. We really hadn't seen each other in, 15 plus years. And the first thing was, yeah, come on out. They have this 1 month program, just like one thing led to the other. And as soon as I read her response, it was like something in me just like opened. It felt so open. It felt so expansive. And I was like, oh, well, there's a possibility. And then I got invited to something, else, like almost on the way to Asia. And I was like, oh, well, I could just kind of give myself this. I plan to be 6 months to reevaluate. And I began to see the potential in it. But it all just started with this little seed, that my mom planted.
I love that. It's, the whole um teaching that Abraham Hicks talks about is ask and you'll receive. And I feel like it's great to hear stories of people who have tangible evidence of that happening in their life, because sometimes it can be hard to believe it, because it's like almost like you're believing in the invisible. And I have many stories from my own life as well, where I've taken the time to reflect and thought about, like, oh, the dots did actually connect in hindsight in a very miraculous and magical kind of way, and it just takes a bit of slowing down to appreciate and recognize it, and also to create the space to receive it, because a lot of us ask but then we don't really create the space to see it or to receive it. um yeah, I
Mm.
I I I feel like that is something that not a lot of people think about, because we kind of get stuck in asking and begging and praying and hoping for. But was there something that you consciously now remember doing to create space for whatever it was to come? Like, was there a healthy sense of detachment from, like, okay, I know I don't want to be here, but I don't know what happens next. What do I do from here?
Yeah, I think like you said as well, it comes with asking, but also trusting that we will get the answer. Maybe it's not in the exact form or package, wrapped as the gift that we're expecting it to come in, because oftentimes we have this mental idea of how we think it should come, but just that trust and that openness that it may come in a different form, or it may come not in our timing, but just uh, trusting that we are supported. One of my favorite mantras is the universe has my back. And just anytime I feel, whatever's happening is happening for my greatest good, even if I can't see it right now. Oftentimes when we look back in hindsight at any struggle within our life, we're like, wow, that taught me so much. I'm so glad, I went through that, because I came out on the other side and I learned and I grew. And so I come back to that affirmation a lot, of just when things feel maybe like, I'm not getting the answers that I'm seeking. Just the universe has my back, and it's all coming in divine timing. And just that, the more I can drop into to trusting the process, I think that kind of opens me up to see other possibilities, because then I'm not thinking it has to come in this way. Because if I'm thinking, oh, it has to come this way, I may miss, the alternative way that I may be directed to. Because actually, even at that point in my life, I had this a really good resume. I checked all the boxes, and I was applying to like all these other jobs, because I thought maybe it's the job, maybe it's not the situation, maybe it's just the job. So I was trying to apply to all these jobs, and on my weekends, I would spend my weekends applying, and I would apply to 15 jobs, and I kept getting either no response, or just they wouldn't even have an interview with me. And I didn't understand. I was like, why am I keep getting rejected? I was like, I on paper, like I check all the boxes. And then this rejection was actually the greatest gift. Like, I'm so glad that I just didn't, because if I would have got another job, I probably wouldn't have taken the 6 months to explore that turned into 6 years, and a whole different lifestyle. Um, and I would have just ended up back maybe in a similar job, in the same habits and patterns that I was creating, that were creating my current circumstance. So really, that rejection kind of was also a gift. And I just had to. I can't say honestly that I had the trust at the time. At the time, I was like so confused, like, why is this happening? But I would say now I'm slowly learning, like, the more I can trust, the more I'm able to see the different possibilities.
Yeah, trust and surrender and faith, they all go hand in hand, maybe all one and the same.
Mhm.
I recently did a solo episode on redirection, and how divine redirection is, uh, like, one of the biggest blessings that we can have is to not get what we ask for. And I feel like that kind of happened with you applying for all these jobs. And I remember when I was applying for jobs after um law school, because I went to law school with the intention of becoming a lawyer, and then towards the end I kind of did know deep down this isn't something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Like, it doesn't resonate. I enjoyed studying it, but this is not going to resonate with me for the rest of my life in practice. I don't see me using my time and energy to pursue this. And I remember one day sitting down and opening my laptop, and I opened the application form for one of the law firms in the city, typed in my name, did all the basic stuff, name, address, all that stuff. And then, like, 2 minutes into it, I was like, no, I can't do this. Like, this is just, there's something in me physically creating resistance between me continuing to type and completing what's in front of me. And there was like a whole bunch of sections, like it must have been like 2,500 words by the end of it that I would have had to fill in. I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know what's next, but it's definitely not this. And um yeah, I feel like the mirror then gets turned inwards and you realize actually it's not about the details of me trying to change the situation. It's actually looking within and understanding, why doesn't this resonate with me? Like, what's actually going on?
Mm.
There must be something going on with me because I have my dial set in the wrong place, or I'm not connected to something, which means I'm not taking action in the right space or following the right guidance that's maybe been given to me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mm.
Did you feel scared picking up and then leaving to go to Thailand at that time?
I did. Yeah. It was the first time I'd ever, even traveled on my own,
And how old were you?
internationally. I was 25, but I had really committed to it. I had let go of my apartment, let go of my car. I just was I said it was going to be 6 months, but I think there was something in me that knew. Like there was something I was looking, I was going to find over there. So I kind of just like let everything go, and it was this big process also of like detaching to everything that was like keeping me tied in the situation where I felt stuck, and that was like a big process of of letting go. And yeah, there was definitely some fear of going kind of against the grain. But I had a really amazing support system. Like my family actually really supported me in it, which was amazing. And it was, yeah, I just learned so much about myself every day, even through traveling on my own. It's like figuring out just the small things and really celebrating those little things that you accomplish, and like, oh wow, I figured it out, I did it. So that was even a big process as well. So there's definitely some fear, but also again, the fear was teaching me to trust.
Did you expect your family to support you, or did it come as an unexpected surprise that they were just fine with it?
I was a bit surprised actually. um I was a bit because I had, such a quote unquote good job, well-paying job, and I was kind of just like leaving everything. Um, and I think at first they were a bit surprised, but then I think they also saw how unhappy I was, and then they realized like all most parents, what they want for their children is for them to be happy. So they said, okay, go spread your wings a little bit, explore. And yeah, they trusted me as well, which helped me to trust myself. So that was a beautiful process as well, and brought us even closer.
Amazing. And what was your relationship like with your sister? It sounds like you said you traveled on your own, so she didn't do this like, kind of leave to come at the same time.
No, she didn't. So I kind of went on my own journey for a few years. Traveled around. I worked in New Zealand for a bit to explore different jobs. Did some trainings in India. Came back to Copenhagen, where I'm based, and really this island kept calling me back. And I was exploring a lot of different modalities here and just diving into so many different things. And I would call her with just this excitement, like, you have to come experience this. And she actually at the time had, as well, at 28 years old, she had a heart attack. um, and she was hospitalized, and she was okay. But I think that was, again, was another kind of wake up call for her. Her wake up calls sometimes come in the form of health. And it was just this wake up call for her to, I think, switch her lifestyle a bit. And I said, come out here. This island is perfect for healing. There's so much beautiful nature, and just you can give yourself some space. And so she just came for for a visit for a little bit to kind of decompress, and then fell in love with it as well, and went back for a couple months, packed up all of her stuff, let a lot of it go, and moved out here kind of indefinitely as well. So, and then we're both living out here for a number of years.
What was her lifestyle like that led her to then have a heart attack at such a young age?
Um, it was, I think, a bit more of, a party lifestyle. We had actually both been prescribed Adderall at a young age as well, which is an ADD medicine, which definitely increases your heart rate. That was another thing when I was young. I was prescribed this at 15 years old because they said I had ADD, I had trouble focusing, but I think also it was just I wasn't studying what I was passionate about. I have a different way of learning. My brain just sometimes works in a different way that didn't fit into the box of the schooling system. And so when you don't fit into that box, sometimes they're like, oh, there's something wrong with you. And so you need to focus more. And so it's I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's also quite an addictive medication once you are prescribed it. So it's a bit difficult to get off of it because it has the opposite effect on you. And so it's a medication that's quite strenuous on the heart. So it could be a number of things, but I think as well, just even also living not in alignment with what she felt called to do as well. Sometimes it's just like that. Also, what your heart is really really calling, and she felt that as well, like when after that experience she was like, it kind of woke her up to like, okay, am I really living like how I want to be living? And I think that when those moments we have, where it can be a near death experience, or it can be just a moment where you wake up and you're like, if I'm on my deathbed and I look back, do I want to remember how do I want to remember my life? Sometimes I even just reflect. I think this is a really powerful question just to reflect on in general, to like see if I'm in alignment. Like, am I living every day to the fullest? And and so I think that kind of just woke her up a little bit to question and explore something new.
Yeah, I am familiar with Adderall actually. For for very similar reasons. So I was at university and studying law, reading hundreds and hundreds of pages and writing hundreds and hundreds of pages every week. It requires a lot of focus, and my brain it's all over the place, and it's all over the place because that's why I say it's all over the place. I guess from the outside world, it can be seen as that way from someone who's looking at it from a different point of view, but it is what it is, and I don't have a long attention span to like meditate for like hours on end and stuff like that, and that's fine. That's just my way of naturally being and operating in the world. But I found that a friend, in exchange for revision notes, he'd actually come over from Canada and was studying um, at a university in the UK where I was at the time, and he was like, "Oh, I'll give you some Adderall if you share some of your revision notes." I didn't even know what it was at the time. He was like, "Trust me, it'll help you concentrate." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, whatever." So I took it and felt the immediate effects, and I was like, "This shit is good." Ended up taking more than I should have, and then I had like Red Bull and caffeine, and this is going back 10. This is 10 years ago. So when I was 20, I'm 30 now. And then I went to the doctor. I was like, yeah, I don't know. My heart's beating fast. It's like I'm getting palpitations. I don't know what's happening. And here's me having like 20 milligrams plus like 3, 4 tablespoons of coffee and Red Bull and not sleeping much. I'm like, what's going on with my heart? But then the mental clarity is really good. And that's what makes you addicted to it. And then you start relying on it to perform at such a high level that's actually not that natural to be in that state for hours and hours on end. Um, so yeah, so I do resonate with that. But the other thing you said, which was interesting, was your way of focusing is and learning is different. And upon reflection, now going through the public schooling system myself as well over here in London, everyone is put into a box essentially and marked against the same standards. And so those who learn differently or consume information differently or just have a different cadence to consume information just get left out or feeling like there's something wrong with them. And I didn't have like super high grades. Mine were kind of average, but I had to learn over time that it's not what I'm learning. Sorry, it's not the issue isn't me, it's what I'm learning because it's not in alignment with who I am. And so my focus, there's nothing wrong with my focus. It's what I'm focusing on. And so when I do kind of reflect on that time period, I'm like, okay, what were the things that lit me up? Because those subjects, for some reason, I did well in. The other ones that I struggled in, I didn't do so well. And I feel like in the personal development world, they talk a lot about, work on your weaknesses, focus on your weaknesses. Whilst that can be true in some areas of life, like if you're in sports or whatever, generally, I do feel like that's kind of BS because I'm not good with numbers and I don't need to be because that's not my strength. My strength is communication and sales and writing and reading and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it's just about finding alignment, right? And then allowing your focus to go in that direction and then naturally the energy will follow as well.
Definitely. And I think that was one of the biggest things that we learned even with starting Bhavana Bottle was the art of delegation of, the tasks that drained us that we weren't, naturally good at. And instead of trying to do it all and even push through and feel drained and burnt out, how can we outsource and delegate and pass it along to someone that is their zone of genius? And because I think we all do have these different zones of excellence, and that's what makes us all unique, and we all work differently. And so it's forming a team of people that have these different amazing skill sets and the art of collaboration as well. So I feel like I learned so much about that and how to work more in, like you said, your like my zone of genius, and stop trying to force and just fit into a box that I don't fit into, which is then what would lead me to burnout. I was learning that because I was just trying to push through, but the more that I do what lights me up, it's like I get excited to work. I can spend a couple hours on something and feel more energized versus trying to push my way through something that I'm like so resistant to. So that was something we learned, and also it took us a while. It definitely didn't come over time. We had a couple hard years of really grinding through, but then once we figured that out, that was another whisper that came in the wind where I was almost experiencing another burnout with just Bhavana Bottle. It just felt like too much. A friend came to me and said, well, I actually have this company it's for small business e-commerce companies, and you can outsource your operations, and we do all the kind of admin type stuff. And I was like, what? Like that exists? And I remember that was such a game changer. And he the next day was like, actually, I'm running a workshop on the art of delegation, and that's really how you scale, how like successful companies grow is really the art of hiring the right people in the right places with the right skill sets. And that was just a huge eye opener for me. And really transformed our business and led for so much more flow within my own life as well, and happiness.
So how did Bhavana Bottle then come about?
Yeah, so we were living here. This is when my sister and I were both living out here. And I was teaching a couple different modalities of teaching yoga, going through a breathwork facilitator training. So as if anyone's heard of SOMA Breath, we were in the first group of instructors to go through this training with the founder Niraj, and so we were doing this form of breath work every day. So it's a music based breath work that where you include a lot of visualization. So kind of takes you on a journey. Someone's guiding you using visualization while you're breathing, using rhythmical connected breath, creating a state of coherence within the body. The mind is more dropping into that trance-like state, and then you're using different breath holds. So you're holding with empty lungs and holding with full lungs, and Yeah, so it has a lot of positive effects on the body, and then it also can help you to drop into more of an expanded state. So beyond that analytical mind, I like to think of it at breath work as just like you're flying a plane, and sometimes there's like all these clouds, all your thoughts that are here, and breath work just kind of elevates you slightly above the clouds, so then you can see clearly. You can see new opportunities, new possibilities, new potentials maybe you didn't see. Get those insights that might be coming through, and that's that's how I felt it a tool within my own life. So we were doing a lot of breath work every day using this form of visualization. Uh, Also, I've always just been, it's kind of a combination of different things. I was reading the book Hidden Messages in Water by Dr. Emoto, found this super fascinating. And then living on this little island in Southeast Asia, where there is a lot of single-use plastic and trash washing up on the beaches, and just I love the oceans so much, as so many of us do, and just to see that, it was like it was breaking my heart. But I was looking at it as kind of in this victim stance, like, oh, I wish that wasn't happening, uh, rather than and 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 then there's nothing I can really do about it. And as I was doing the breath work, it started coming through of like, all you have to do is just be a small part of the solution. If everyone is just a small part of the solution, we can make a change. And it was like this just slight shift in my outlook of looking at the same thing slightly differently. How can I create something that is, create a small ripple of change, at least for maybe even just this small island that I'm living on. And at the time, there was a lot of single-use plastic water bottles being used here. And so then we had the idea come through of this. And we love sacred geometry as well, the flower of life, and reading about Inamoto's book about the power of symbols and the power of positive word and how it affects can affect the molecular structure of a water molecule, and how we're made up of 70% water. It just all was coming through, and like, how can we create something that kind of combines all of this? And even at the time, I was taping to my water glasses, I love you, and just experimenting with it. My roommate would come out, and there would be like, I love you taped to like all the glasses. I'd be like fermenting and making different things, and because that is that meant for me? Or I was like, no, it's for the water, but it's for you as well. um and yeah, then it's just the idea came through. We started with the two most powerful words, love and gratitude, that we were reading about within the book, using the flower of life and different symbols. And we're like, why don't we just put this on a water bottle, make it so beautiful that everyone wants to have one, and make it good for hot and cold, that you can use it here on the island, and just this multifunctional water bottle that's beautiful and serves as a simple reminder, that your thoughts matter, to drink in, even if it's just for that momentary time you grab your water bottle, send a grateful thought to your body, send a grateful thought to the world, connect back to that vibration of love, even if it's just for that moment. Almost just your water bottle serves as a reminder. And so we had this idea begin to come in, and kind of all these different pieces came together, and so much of it, I think, was from doing the breath work every day. And we were living here, like in a different country. We had no idea how to create a product, or uh, didn't really have the capital at the time to, house a bunch of inventory. But we saw the vision, and we saw the potential. And I think what the breathwork did as well was help us move through the limiting beliefs that normally come up, that block us even before we get started, like that you don't know how to do this, you could fail, you don't have enough money, all of these things. And instead we just started asking, like, how can this be possible? And slowly things started to come in, like the exact amount of money we needed for our first order here for the island. We we called in and manifested within one day. It's actually quite a crazy story. I can share it with you if you'd like.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, because I was going to ask you actually to not only go into this, which is a beautiful segue into what I wanted to ask was to kind of break down what the journey of the idea to a physical product like this bottle was for you, especially starting out, not having made a company or a product like this before. Just for those who are thinking about that or are curious about that, because that's always an interesting journey of manifesting something right from like an idea to, okay, how do I bring this to the world without actually having all the resources and the connections?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um, And I think a lot of it is even just asking and beginning to look. Like with anything, the more you start to look for something, it just begins to open doors. And even having conversations with people that are already in that field might lead you and point you to something, and that opens another door. And that was kind of just our path, was just like approaching it with like such curiosity. And so we started just to explore these different types of products. We were looking at glass bottles, and we actually then really resonated with the bamboo. And so, of course, sampling and trying a bunch of them and perfecting, the design and everything, and finding a supplier that we resonated with that was in alignment with our values. And then it came time to, yeah, we wanted to make our first order, and we were like, okay, well, we don't have the money, so so we called our dad, and we pitched the idea to our dad. And I've always had all these crazy ideas, like ever since I was a kid. I've always been inventing things, and having all of these ideas. And so we shared it with so much excitement, and he said, I'll think about it. um and so the very next day, he woke up from a letter from his bank, and it was a thank you letter for being a customer for so long, and said, as a thank you for being a customer, we're going to give you a line of credit free of interest for 2 years, for like, it was the exact amount that we asked for. And it was basically free money for 2 years. And he was like, I couldn't this I opened this, and it freaked me out because you just asked me for this last night, and then I got this letter. And he's like, I can't say no, because you just called this in. So we used that. So we had interest free. We kind of had risk free for 2 years. We didn't have to pay the interest back, and we got to explore it here on the island. So we did. The island's amazing, was amazing as well, because it was like a little incubator. There's people here from all around the world. And we brought them here and just began to put them in different shops. There's lots of yoga studios here, and different just clothing shops, and people love them. People really resonated with them. And for a tiny little island, we were just so shocked at how quickly they were selling, and people wanting to take them back to their home countries, and everything like that. And it just kind of started as just this passion project for where we were living here. And then it began to show us, just through the feedback we were getting, really the possibility of it. And that led us to looking into, okay, how can we expand this and grow it bigger than just the island. And that's what led us to take it back to the US, where again we kind of just did things. We started again just walking into stores, and would show them it and say, would you like to carry this product? And it sounds crazy, but our success rate was like 99.9%. Every store was like, yes, so cool, we would love this. And it became so fun. We were meeting all of these shop owners, and we're just doing it on foot at first, not really knowing what we were doing. And we're like, okay, wow, we have a really good success rate with this as well. And so then we ended up finding out there's actually platforms that connect brands with retail locations. And then eventually we walked into a shop that had 70 plus locations. We had no idea they wanted to carry it, and it's just like things just opened. But so much of it just happened with, again, us just approaching it with like a curiosity of, you know almost like everything's an experiment. And I think in business, sometimes we think like, if something doesn't work out, like we kind of get discouraged and quit before we even get started. But if we look at everything like it's all just an experiment, let's experiment and see how this works. And maybe if this doesn't work, like, how can I try it, tweak it, and try it a little bit differently? And I think it's all about, as well, our mindset at the time, which again, we were just really connecting with our bigger vision, our bigger why we were doing it, and making it fun, not making it like it had to be, we had to had to be within our these time frames, and I think that kind of sucks the fun out of it. And so we just decided we're going to make this fun, we're going to make it enjoyable, and that's kind of how we got started in the very beginning. And it all started even just we were on motorbikes here in Thailand, so we drive around with these big backpacks full of bottles, and just to go to even we were even walking into the sixth season, no, what's it called, that nice hotel, I don't even remember the name, the really nice resorts and things, and just
Four
going in
Seasons.
and with a smile on, and sharing it with them, and if we got it, yeah, Four Seasons. Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
And did you? Well, yeah, I think you might have just answered my question. I was going to ask, did you like hand pick the places that you would then go? Not necessarily in Thailand, because I know there's a lot of, like you said, yoga shops and all that kind of stuff. But like generally, was there any thought process around like what stores to target, or you were just like, let's just try our luck and see who takes it?
Yeah, we definitely had like our market. We knew what our market was. The different types of shops that they would sell well in, like yoga studios, apothecaries, tea shops. So in a list of, where we thought that they would sell well. And then of course, like anything, you experiment and test it.
Amazing. Can you
I
still
think
hear me, by the way?
my Yeah, sorry, I think it cut out for one moment. I can switch my internet to a stronger connection if that's okay.
Yeah, you can
It
go
just
for it.
take a
Yeah,
minute.
go for it.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that.
How's it doing? No, that's cool. How's it? Is it better now for you?
Yes.
Awesome. Um, and then what about manufacturing? Like, how did you go about figuring out like, okay, so you've got the design. Okay, there's two questions. First is the manufacturing, and then the name as well. How did you come up with the name?
Yeah. So the manufacturing again was just kind of experimenting as well. We tried a bunch of different products and just could get samples and find which one that we liked the most, and then the highest of quality. And even that took some refining over even the first year, because even from a couple samples, you can't really tell. You need to order larger amounts, so that's why kind of doing it on the island at first was easy, because we got to really test that. And then you can hire different companies that go and do an inspection for you to make sure everything else is like in alignment with what you're looking for, so you can have the factory inspected for different things. So we would do that, and we found, yeah, an amazing company we've been with for about four years now. And then with the name, Bhavana or Bhavana, however you want to pronounce it, is a Sanskrit word, and one of its many meanings is to call into existence, and we just resonated with that, because we thought that that's really what the bottle is it's your thoughts are calling things into existence. And so doing it through infusing the water that we drink, sending love within our own bodies, sending it out into the world, and just remembering questioning what are you calling into existence, in each day and each moment, through what the signals you're sending out, through what you think, thoughts that you're choosing to think.
Yeah, I love the name. Everything about it's very intentional, and it just from that point of view, it stands out in and of itself because the way it's designed, to the name itself, to the material, all of that kind of stuff, it's not something that you just see blending in. I don't see that blending in with everything else, and that's kind of the point, that the bamboo and then the name and the designs of the geometric patterns are kind of created all together as one package to stand out and to speak to those who I guess are in resonance with something like that. And more so than not, it'd be people who are kind of in that spiritual space, right? So they would find,
Yeah.
like me, like I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to have any other water bottle. Like nothing else is going to match the quality of all the aspects that this ticks, you know?
Yeah, I would say that's also been such a fun part. We have like the best customer base ever because, like you said, it just attracts, like, even just, the people that it attracts are just such amazing people. And just we get such nice messages, and just how, people feel really connected to it. And, people that buy the bottle are already doing such cool things.
Mm.
And, from people who really love, like, the power of water to sacred geometry. And so it's really just also been this connection point to so many amazing people, just through the people that the bottle attracts, through itself, which has been a really fun process of it.
Did you find yourself depleted working on this at any point? Like it sounds like it started off being very energizing and exciting, but was there a point where you kind of felt more on the opposite end of the spectrum where you're like, yeah, for some reason I'm kind of feeling like I don't have the energy to work on this anymore.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely reached a point of, again, close to burnout, even with this is something I am passionate about, which was a big lesson for me as well, and also showed something about myself. It's interesting. I removed myself from the environment, that perceived I thought caused my burnout, and then put myself on this magical island, and then I did it again, basically, to myself. So that showed me, wow, there's a pattern within me that needs to be looked at. This desire to achieve and to, kind of, not hold boundaries for myself, and work life balance and all of these things. So I learned a lot about myself, even through this repeating pattern. I think whenever patterns repeat within ourselves, it shows that, what within me needs to be looked at a little bit. So that was a big lesson for me. And I would say, yeah, it was to this point after we had been to the US and then came back here, and it was online, and it was doing really well. It was basically booming, but it was still based pretty much just my sister and I. And this was before, when I learned to delegate, and we were doing everything. And yeah, it just felt too much. And I was doing a lot of what I kind of talked about before, a lot of things that I didn't enjoy. I started it because, I loved the vision of it, and connecting with people, but all of the small little details and the operations and the shipping plans, and it's just like that wasn't what lit me up. And yet I felt stuck and trapped in these details. And so then that little whisper in the wind came from my friend. I said, please help me get out of this. It's like anytime I feel stuck, I always just ask, like, okay, what is there that I'm not seeing? What else is possible? And this is how this came in, of my friend, who has this company that helps with operations, and really learning to delegate and to work more. Making a list. I made a list of, like, okay, what are the aspects of the business I really enjoy and I actually want to be doing, and what are the parts that really deplete me, where I feel, just I don't want to do this, and how can I find someone else that would be better at doing those things than I would. And so and when I did that, the business did so much better anyways, because it's like that wasn't my zone of genius. I wasn't doing it as good as someone else that, thrives in that area. So really learning that. Also learning a bit about myself. I don't know if you're into human design at all, but my sister's a manifester and I'm a projector. So neither of us have like that generator energy as well, like to
That's me,
yeah.
generator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're like, we need to hire some generators, because we're more like have the ideas. She has like the vision, and yeah, I can just like I can see it, and I love overseeing, but like being in the details for me of like the grind of it, I can't do it. That's what leads me to burnout. And I had to learn that about myself. And when I began to learn more about myself and in just exploring myself, then I was like, oh, I see why this pattern is repeating, because I'm trying to force myself again in this box. And so I think when we start our own business, whatever business that may be, or even the journey of entrepreneurship, is really one of the greatest teachers for us in so many ways. I think relationships and then entrepreneurship are right up there with, well, they'll bring everything right up to the surface to be looked at. So it was a really big teacher for me as well, the whole process of it all.
Yeah, it can serve as a mirror, right? A business relationship,
Mm.
life in general, just serves as a mirror. Any experience that we find ourselves in, it's like, okay, what does this say about me? How am I feeling right now? And where am I at with this in relation to life itself? And what can I learn from it? And I feel like self-awareness is just like one of the key things that we don't get taught in school, that we don't get really taught to cultivate as we grow up. And so we think, like we were saying to our point earlier about, needing to really achieve highly in school and then tick all of the societal boxes, you think that I'm only successful if I do it this way, following a particular map, but we don't ever take stock of like, who am I? Which is one of the biggest questions I sat with these last few years, since kind of 2019 onwards, I would say. And really just peeling back the layers on like, okay, if I let go of all of the books and the podcasts and the videos, all that kind of stuff that I've been consuming, and I start from a blank canvas, who am I? Like, what is it that lights me up? What do I have to say about the world? What is the wisdom that's coming through me? And that's kind of what led me to then uh start writing more poetry and actually coaching in that space more and more, of asking that one simple question, three words, who am I? But it can break down so many layers of identity. And then from that space, you then understand, oh, okay, now I get like why my relationship might not be working, or my business, or why I'm not so happy, or my self-image of who I think I should be versus who I actually want to be in the world, and expectations and judgments. And there's so many layers to it all, but it starts with the self. Because, and I'll just say this as the last thing before I let you let you speak, but I think in the schooling system, we are conditioned to expect what to learn. So we don't really take stock of who we are and what we need to do, because we're like, oh yeah, in September, which is when the school year starts over here in the UK, in September, I'm just going to get another curriculum. Like, I'll know what the homework assignments are. I know what tests I need to take. Like, cool. And in the meantime, I'm just going to have fun and just kind of party or whatever, play games. And that's all the way until like the age of 21 when you finish college, because you're just on to the next thing, the next test, the next assignment. You're not really taking a moment to breathe and think, actually, am I actually going in the right direction here?
It's so true. Yeah, exactly. And it took me a while. It took me even after graduating college. I feel like I even went through college
That,
not even, I
yeah,
had no
that
idea.
pattern continues, right? Even past, way
Yeah.
past college for some people.
Yeah. Well, because we just get kind of thrown into, okay, next step after high school, you go to university, even if you have no idea what you want to study yet. I was like, I don't know. I feel like I'm too young to make that, that type of decision. But then I just was like, told that business was kind of like the logical thing, even though that was definitely not my passion. It was just like that's the logical next step. Um, and instead of like taking some time to actually, like you said, dive into ourselves, who am I, what lights me up, and then choose, like consciously choosing, it was more just like out of safety, I'll choose this path. And then that's what, well, then you get to a point where like, how did I get here? And then it's like, oh wow, I hadn't actually made a conscious decision connected to, what lights me up in a really long time. So we just sometimes get led astray. But then I think it's also, that's part of life. I think it's like the journey back home. It's always like this journey of just like, oh, okay, now I'm coming back home, coming
Yeah.
back into alignment. I think it's all part of it.
Absolutely. Did you ever find it frustrating working with your sister, growing up with her, living with her, and then going into business with a family member?
We actually get along quite well. Actually, as children, we didn't like at all, and then yeah, there was like this shift. I think after when she was sick when we were younger, there's just something shifted. We became really close, and she was like always my greatest ally. And we also have different skill sets in certain ways, and I feel like we are also like a uh, we like when one of us gets excited, it's almost like this vortex of upward spiraling energy where we can almost like elevate one another. So she makes a really good business partner for that. But like I said, we also learned our weakness together, which is yeah, the generator aspect of it. We're like we need that energy within our business. But I think once we learned that, and yeah, there's also a lot of blessings to working with family, I think, too, of uh yeah, just having she's been someone I can trust and lean on ever since I was a kid, and I'll know that she'll be there, until my last days. So it's really, I think, as well a, a blessing to have each other to work with too. Although of course
Absolutely.
it's all not all rainbows, but also she's one of my biggest mirrors as well, and I very much believe that she was meant to be my sister, and we're meant to be each other's sisters in this life, for a reason. So our paths are very intertwined.
I love that. And you were saying before, like that you're in a space now with uh Bhavana that you don't necessarily need to be doing the day to day, or it's kind of self-sufficient. Is there anything else that you feel either now or in the horizon that you're excited to work on that's outside of that?
Yeah, definitely. So I do a number of different things. I also run group coaching programs called the Soul Path Accelerator. So it's really helping people that are in a position maybe similar to what I was in, that just feel a lack of fulfillment and are longing for a deeper sense of connection to what they're doing within their life, or maybe they're already on the path but they're not really sure how to like bring all of their gifts, their expertise, their knowledge into something that can actually serve another. Like how do I package this all? I have all these bits and pieces, but I don't know how to like bring it all together. So that's actually how I work with people now, which I really enjoy. And we work with people in a three month container, helping them with that, whether it's if they want to bring a product based business into the world or whether they want to bring a service based offering, and really first diving within to get clear on what is it that lights you up, reigniting that passion, reigniting that spark within, tuning in with your zone of genius. We work with like the archetypes, connecting back to the inner child, all of this to kind of look and explore these different layers within ourselves. And then once we have a little bit more clarity on this, okay, how can I take what I've just learned and bring this outward, and what excites me? How can I do this in a way that's fun, and how can I do this in a way where I have a support system? Because also I'd say for me, in crafting of Bhavana Bottle, I don't think I could have done it on my own, and just having Patty, my sister, to do it with, even if one of us got discouraged, the other one could be there to kind of like build the other one up and see like, no, this we can, there's this option. And I think when you do it on your own, it's just a bit harder, as an entrepreneur. And I really need that in my life, is like a support system is really valuable, and so many people need that. So that's what I try and create for others within my programs, is just like this anchoring support system of whatever you need, we got you, we got your back. So that's as well what I do, now that I've freed up a lot of space with Bhavana. I help others to kind of move from a familiar space that I was in as well.
Beautiful. And do those experiences take place in Thailand as well? People come to you there, or?
All of it's online now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I run also trainings we integrate a lot of the breath work into it as well, because like I said, the breath work is what really helped us in our creation. So we integrate the breath work into the journey. So it's just meeting weekly online, once a week, and then also with group support throughout the week on a chat, and then we all doing the breath work daily. When you do the breath work daily for at least 30 days, but when in the container you do it for 90 days, it's so amazing, because the breath is this tool that you can use to help shift your state. So it's like if you wake up in the morning, you feel disconnected, you're like, I don't have any inspiration, I'm on the wrong side of the bed. Instead of like carrying that energy and moving through your day with that, how can I take the first 20 minutes of my day and consciously choose, how I want to, what energy I want to bring forward into my day, and reconnect to my vision, reconnect to my intention for today, reconnect to how I want to feel today. And the breath is a tool we can use to actually use our physiology to help shift our state of being and reconnect to that. So it's also helpful to move through those feelings of stuckness, of doubt, of fear, of limitation. So those are in person. I run breathwork retreats here in Thailand and throughout. But have you explored much with breathwork, or is it a
Yeah.
modality you use?
Yeah, not necessarily on a daily basis, but I have been doing a lot of Kundalini yoga since 2019. So, of course, that form of yoga specifically focuses on the breath a lot, and I find that it connected me to my body in ways that I now continue to use those practices, because it kind of brings me back to self. Um, and there's kind of two ways that I look at it when I'm needing to. I kind of do it all intuitive, but when I need to do something a bit more high energy, then I'll do something like breath of fire, or like full lungs and empty lungs, like you said, and just to kind of re-energize me. But if I want to just calm the system down and just settle into myself a little bit more, then I would do alternate nostril breathing, and then just literally watching the breath as it's naturally going in and out, just like it has with this conversation, just like it does when we're not paying attention. I feel like the breath is the thing that connects the spirit and the body, right? To merge, to
Mm.
become one, the ethereal to the material. It's the glue, basically. And it is life. Like soon as that stop, beyond food and beyond oxygen and beyond water and all that stuff, it's breath. If you do not breathe properly, there's nothing else is going to work. Right. So like I feel like that's the very basic foundation of life that we often overlook, because we're not really taught much about it, and we're not really given the time and the space to explore what that means to us and our relationship to it. But yeah, I do use it for sure. It is helpful, but not on a daily basis.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I remember it's just one of the first time I experienced an actual, breath work class or journey. I was like, so we're just gonna breathe for an hour? Like, but I do that all the time. And I was like, oh wow, there's this secret power right under my nose that we have access to all the time in every moment. And I had no idea really the potential of when I learned to breathe consciously, and how you can use it in all of these different ways, like you described. So it's just been one tool one tool in my toolbox that really resonates strongly for me. So
Do you have any
yeah,
other like
integrate.
favorite tools that you like to use?
Um, I'd say the art of visualization. It kind of goes together, like I said, the breath work, but the art of visualization, self-inquiry, just asking questions and really sitting with the questions. Like even you said the question of who am I? That's a big one. You can sit with that one for a really long time.
Yeah.
But just even other questions, and just sitting with them. Um, and then Vipassana meditation has like extended Vipassana retreats have really helped me uh, as well, and really shown me what's possible in that realm. because also I am someone where my mind is always running 100 miles an hour. And so to sit for 10 days in silence and just watch my breath was, the biggest teacher for me. And it was where I found just this complete joy and contentment in having nothing. Because if you're not familiar with Vipassana meditation, it's a retreat where you don't speak to anyone else. You fast for a lot of the time, so you eat 2 meals a day at 7 a.m. and 11 a.m., and then you fast the rest of the day. I did it here in Thailand, so we were sleeping. It was very basic, almost like on a wood floor with just a simple, tiny, really thin. Um, I wouldn't even call it a mattress, some sort of cushion underneath of you. And I remember I was laying there, it was like on the eighth night. I just had the biggest smile on my face ever. And I just had this like joy beaming from me, this contentment. It was just like beaming, and just this, it was simply just a joy of being. And there was nothing to be happy for. Like I wasn't happy for any reason other than just I was. And I remember that experience so vividly. And from that, uh, it taught me so much about just, yeah, the joy of simply of being. And I really try and integrate that into my day to day. So really, whether that's as simple as just when I feel my mind going 50 miles an hour, just slowing down, taking 5 minutes to just take a couple breaths and try and reconnect to just, what is here and now, that I can, feel grateful for, that I can appreciate, that I can recognize, and then taking that more still state of being in mind, and carrying that forward, has been a really big tool for me to kind of, uh, yeah, calm my racing mind.
Yeah, I'm the same way. One of the things that helps me is just to take a moment to sit in the silence. I have heard of Vipassana, but I've never done the whole course. Maybe one day. But for now, a daily integration that's been really cool for me is just to sit in silence. I mean, for as little as 5 minutes, it can reset you, and not to have anything with me, like no phone, no nothing, and just 5 minutes of just sitting, staring at the wall or looking out the window or whatever it is, but just being with the breath. And you realize that in this very moment right now, there's nothing wrong. Like
Mm.
everything that I think is happening is either because I'm thinking about something from the past or I'm worried about something from the future. And it's basically either going left or right, but I'm not in the center. And that's what's causing the issue. And most of the time, 5 minutes is all you need to reset and come back to being in the present. And then from that place, you think, okay, cool, maybe I can do this. It's not as bad as I
Yeah, I
thought it
got
was.
this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And like, how often do we, especially in this day and age, I think anytime we have an extra minute, like our just natural impulse, we've been trained, is just to pick up the phone and start scrolling. Even when we're standing in line for something, when we're waiting for our food, when whatever it is, it's like we're never just sitting. And even if someone was probably just like, sitting at a restaurant, just sitting there, someone would look at them like, are they okay? Are they okay?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, because it's so
yeah.
it's so not common. It's just so not common these days. But it's
Uh,
just yeah, it's so powerful. So simple, but so powerful.
it is. Well, this has been a beautiful conversation. I feel like we could talk for a very long time. But just want to be respectful of the time, especially because it's so late where you are now as well. So I appreciate and I love the fact that you made the time and the space to share today. Um, as we wrap up, I wonder if you could share a little bit around how people might want to connect with you, learn more about you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for creating the space and being such an amazing host. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I appreciate, yeah, the invitation to be here. And yeah, if anyone is interested in learning more about the bottles that we spoke about today, you can check out our website or Instagram. It's just Bhavana Bottle, bhavanabottle.com, or Bhavana Bottle on Instagram. And if anyone wants to learn more about the breath work as well, or just even give it a try, we have some short guided 20-minute journeys that I can provide you a link of link for one of them if you want to include one in the show notes so people can get a taste of it. If you want to try it in the morning, see how it resonates. I'll share that as well. But the best place to connect would be on Instagram at Soul Tribe Sisters. Feel free to send a message if anything that I shared today resonated, and I'm open to having a conversation, diving deeper. And yeah, thanks for being here and for listening.